And well, let's wait before I start. Now let's wait for Rambo to show up and make sure that everything works properly, that everything is as it should be. And so it looks like we are, from what I see here, probably without any complications. Let me make sure here on the YouTube application if it is for sure. We have a voice. That's right, so we can start. So I'm Maciej Yakshiba. I'm the creator of meme coin called RTT. And on these live streams I tell you what happened on the cryptocurrency market, what I think about it, in connection with 11 years of my experience. And of course, I'm also talking about my meme coin, RTT. Why maybe it's worth taking an interest in it. So, let's start. I invite you, and we can go to the screens. At the beginning, I would like to point out that on the English-speaking side, I use the interpreter to speech. This is the programming that I wrote myself. And well, I explain it so much while it's real, they have it to themselves that they don't explain it perfectly. So be prepared for sometimes small disappointments. Of course, I try to make them possible. The translations as best as possible, but it is not generally easy to deliver in real time, so to speak, really very good. Good quality of translation. So as much as it is possible, it should be translated correctly there. But sometimes there will be some small contradictions. So you will be able to understand more or less what I'm talking about. Of course, I always study after the live stream how maybe I'm trying to improve something, and finally I'll get to some perfection. In this craft, in this art, but so far it is as it is. Well, what do I have to show you today? Who are the first people in the live chat on the Polish side? Michał Leto wrote, hello, I see that earlier today. Yes, a little earlier. Yesterday it was very late. Yesterday it was a very, very late hour. And today it is the same. It's really late at night. As for my time zone, it's 11:2 at night, so it's relatively late. In Poland, it is 10:2 in the night, only on the American continents. It's still early in the morning. Maybe someone will be watching this live stream, because as I mentioned earlier, it's translated during the English. And of course it happens here, on 5 different channels, as you can see, on Rumble, on Kick, on X, on Twitch, on YouTube. So there's a bit of it. There's a bit of it. I don't know why. I don't have any idea what this is about. But I know that this live stream is being recorded, that everything is good on the other side, so this is the most important thing, and the rest is just a detail. So, I live with it, so to speak. And here, on the chart, as you can see, we have one coin called Bake. I don't know what it is, but I saw that on Crypto Bubbles. If we switch here, this is the biggest drop we have on Binance, as you can see. And the last trade is like this. I have on this coin, as you can see, is a loss trade, but sometimes even, let's say, having a loss. The last trade is really worth it, because as you can see, what happened shortly after the exit that is here on the screen, it just ended. It's an absolute downfall, minus 35% almost from the exit, so a very ugly move on this market. And well, quite a reduction. Probably this coin will be delisted from Binance. That's how I imagine it. Mainly this type of movements are accompanied by such an event. And by the way, the title of today's live stream is It's Happening? That's the title. And well, a bit provocative. But traditionally on this market, let's say an influencer, you have to dramatize a bit. When I say such a miniature as it is now, Grog suggested it to me. I didn't even read too much on the basis of what he generated it. Well, there's always something there on this hand. What's going on there? As you can see, today we have quite a lot of green color, so it's nice. There are no very big growths, but there are relatively. As you can see, it is not green with some red spots, but it is in the fundamental minority. The red one is in the fundamental minority. Michał writes, how did our president fall out there? At Donald Trump today. A nie miałem czasu śledzić ich spotkania. Pensantowałem ponownie etykonskiec. Sen, że powiem, że nawet nie wiedziałem, że prezydent Polski się spotkał z Donaldem Trumpem. I don't think it would matter, unfortunately, if we didn't like it. Poland would not have any position, so to speak, in the international arena, so de facto it doesn't matter what he says there. What he did there, and so it will be, as it should be, and we have no impact on it. It's just a superpower #1 largest economy in the world. It's the biggest military power in the world, so it doesn't matter at all. Michał later said, say something about... I don't know exactly what this project is about. As you can see, it is currently at -8%. This is World Liberty Finance, I think it's called, something like that. I don't know what kind of project it is. What is its purpose? So I'm only interested in the chart, how the chart looks like. We can switch to the chart. But this chart is very young when it comes to... I will not be able to say too much, as you can see. It has a few. I've been drawing for 3 days, so it's hard to say anything about it. What is going on here? What are we dealing with? And what is going on here? It's just too young. As you can see, this is how a weekday oven looks like. So it looks like this. There is nothing to interpret. But let's say these crypto projects that Donald Trump, the President of the United States, has been associated with, I guess everyone knows. They are not the best at it. When we go to meme coin of Donald Trump himself, we turn on the daylight. We'll see that there was a sale here. A sale and only a sale, of course. Not only, there were also some rallies, but... Well, as I said, he's biting the floor. As he's biting the floor for now. Maybe now. This coin is already on some hard ground. It has already settled on some scale, and from here we will no longer see further sales. But this is as much as possible. The chart starts to suggest that it can be like that, because as we can see here, if we measure the slope at the bottom of this formation, it is flattened. This is a signal that the purchasing zone is becoming so strong that the buyers are so predominant over the sellers that it's hard to prove. Further price penetration to the bottom, and such a disproportion between willing and unwilling. Often leads to at least some quite large price pitfalls. And of course with very quick steps. We're getting closer to the fourth quarter this year, and the fourth quarter, as we know, is a pretty good quarter. In general this year, when it comes to crypto is not a good year for altcoins yet, so the tradition is that we had at least one very solid rally this year. And this year, as you can see, this rally has disappeared a bit. There is no place to look for it. So far, this Christmas tree is in red. There is more. Let's say the peak is drawn below than it was in the previous year. So far we have not yet de facto experienced. Let's talk about the obligatory rally. It was last year, so this year we haven't had it yet. Right, do I'm saying it right? Or while I doubted if it was this one in this year. But no, it was in the previous year. So, this one was also in the previous year. One solid rally is guaranteed, because it happens every year, so at least one rally on altcoins, so I wouldn't be afraid of it at all. This is the market structure that we have at the moment on the altcoin market, that is, here in the connection at all. With, let's say, an over-the-top structure, a multi-year one. Well, it causes me to think that we're going to shoot. This is only a matter of time before we shoot up. Of course, this picture here is a bit distorted because it's so all altcoins that are on Binance, and there is quite a strong rotation, let's say, of these various altcoins, so that's why it's much easier to maintain a nice shape of this chart thanks to this rotation, because weak projects can be delisted. Good projects can be listed. That's why you have to have this ability to filter it a bit visually, optically. And just remember that this is what this chart is all about, how it is composed. However, as you can see, the current weekly is on green, so at least it tries to negate us. I have a regular weekly candle, which as you can see was red, so not the one we would like. So in the worst case. But in a good scenario, we want this candle to close not only on the green, the weekly candle, but also to the body of the candle. In the end, the average was higher than the glider's body. So on the right track so far, we really don't lack much to have such a picture of the situation, but today we only have Wednesday. So quite a lot can still happen on Wednesday, generally. The last few days have been quite boring, especially on Thursdays, when some decisions and pivots are made. So we will see how it will be this week. This time I think that we will probably keep this rule. It really suits me that there is a day that determines what will happen for the rest of the week. It's very comfortable, but we'll see how it goes this week. We won't have to wait too long. Let's see what it looks like on the daylight candles. The daylight candles are slowly beginning to negate this falling triangle. Which we have here, as you can see, which I noticed yesterday. And this is of course a bear formation, so we don't want to see it. I also commented yesterday that despite the fact that it is of course a bear formation, the target is tied to this formation. Would make the chart look like this. Moreover, it would give us a really big M-type formation, which is also a bear formation. And in turn the target of this formation would give us such a shape of the chart. And this is what it would give us on the weekly charts. gigantic head and shoulders formation. This is also a bear formation, of course, and this combination could turn out to be for the altcoin market, which in general does not suit me at all in many ways. So that's why I said right away that this one. Here we have a falling triangle. I have to move it a little bit. Move it a little bit to make it, to erase, to clean this chart. Let it be in this shape. That's why I said from the beginning that I don't see it. I hope that the target of this falling triangle will be achieved, that there will probably be a breakout to the top, a breakout with the ceiling and not. And we would be looking up and potentially we can get an uplifting tree color. If price action flows like this, then we will have a merit to have a rising triangle here. The descending triangle, as it was called, so it was called. And this is of course the formation of the bull. So the formation for growth, not for decline. Of course at this stage, this is far-reaching speculation, but the circumstances of the comrade. On the global market, I think they should be much more inclined to think this way. And not in any other. Let's see what the Bitcoin domination looks like, the Bitcoin domination chart. And I really like what's going on here, because as you can see, Bitcoin domination, at least at the moment, looks like it is retreating from the 58.6% level. And this is one of those levels, which I have marked here for a very, very long time. Those who watch it know. And as you can see, it looks like we're going to... We were jumping from this level, hitting the ceiling with our head, and then we were falling down. I like what I see. Let it stay, of course, by the way. I will remind you to like, share, subscribe, if someone has not done it yet, because I see that there are a few watching. Here I have a summary, or rather a summary of how many people are watching. So there are 10 viewers on the English side. And I see that there are 7 viewers on the Polish side, so like, share, subscribe, and well indeed. I don't know what it looks like because we had a little bit of reaction on this chart. It's one of those charts to which we want it to look as bad as possible. We want the altcoin season to come, the so-called one, and every time there are have any problems, then in fact for us, this is potentially the time that we are waiting for. It was really a long time in the form of an altcoin season, alt season. Rapanuyo, I see that he wrote, hello Rapanuyo, nice to meet you. To see you. But on the Polish channel, of course, here, so far, no one has asked any questions or said hello. Of course, I encourage you to watch this live stream in English with the delay of 20 seconds. It is, of course, the result is that, let's say, software scripts must be translated, must have some context for analysis. First he will translate it, then he will have to put it all together, and translate the text from Polish into English, and then emit the sound. And that's why there is a delay of 20 seconds on the English-speaking side, which is not a catastrophic delay, let's be honest. Mariusz Wojciechowski wrote to say hello. Hi Mariusz, nice to see you. And well, let's see how today. Today, I went to the traditional market. I didn't look at the traditional market today, but I can see that it's not bad, so we have a pretty good day. However, we opened quite high. As you can see, we had a gap between closing yesterday and opening today. We reduced it a little bit, And finally, you can see that we brought out the daylight candle to the plus, because it closed on the green. We have here so-called the bullish hammer when it comes to what this type of candle is called, so it is positive, very positive. And it looks like SEM 500 will try to break new records again. So next all-time high. High is really not far away from the race. The previous beaten all-time high is here, so in the percentage we are really very. It is even less than 0.93% of the area we are currently in, so very close. And of course, this is always an additional factor that stimulates growth for the crypto market, at least because of on, let's say, the phenomenon of capital rotation, how someone will make on stocks, on S&P 500. Well, then he has this so-called light money, for which you have a light or easier money. I think it's better to call it easy money, for which you have a light hand and dial. Maybe then, let's say, having such capital, it is much easier to invest in something that is related to. It's a high risk, because as they say, easy come, easy go, so if someone has, let's say, some budget increases, he gets some money there, then he is much more inclined to cut that money somehow. Risk or even waste, so it provokes this phenomenon of capital rotation. And because our market is basically 1/100th of what? The first one is S&P 500, so we don't really need much of this traditional market change in the interest rate to our side to see really powerful movements. That's why the shape S&P 500 has a meaning. Global finance is the biggest, there is nothing bigger, and if things are going well there, there is much more. There is a higher probability that somewhere else, where you are speculating, it will also work out well. So it's nice to see that. Of course, we can have some moments of decorrelation, reverse decorrelation. Let's call it a decorrelation, or even a reverse correlation. It's either a decorrelation or a reverse. Correlation. When S&P 500 goes down and we go up. Bitcoin goes up, crypto goes up, but these are rare. Let's say the moments don't happen so often. They don't happen so rarely. And if you think about it from the side of mechanics, which is the element of capital rotation, then it makes sense. On Bitcoin, as you can see, I am still in position. I showed you the position yesterday, that there was an entry signal yesterday. It was on a slight -7. Today it is on a slight plus, basically exactly on such a plus as yesterday. It was on a minus, because it is on plus 0.4%. Yesterday it was on a minus 0.4%, so as we see that you have a sense of humor. Generally speaking, I expect this position to be profitable, and that it will provide quite a lot of fun. Technically speaking, I like it very much. From a technical point of view, and because the last time I had a little bit of these fake outs, I think 4 even in a row. The last trade was neutral, which shows that something is breaking here. On the Bitcoin market in the right direction, i.e. in the growth direction. And it seems to add a little more confidence to me. We will see some bigger movement on Bitcoin, and it will go up, of course, we will see. Let's see what we have here at CoinMarketCap, Crypto Fear and Greed Index. The result is 42.3 points higher. Like yesterday, but in fact the day before yesterday, because this is the result from yesterday, not today. Well, and as if judging by the fact that this is what crypto bubbles looks like, so today's report will probably be a little better than yesterday's. This is to be expected, of course, if nothing goes wrong today, but I think that Thursday will be a good day and that it will give us a direction of growth, because I think that 2 or even 3 times in a row I made a mistake when it comes to the forecast of what the upcoming week will look like. It's probably the 3rd week that doesn't look like I expected. I mean, the more I get wrong, the closer I am to finally not getting it wrong. That's how statistics work. Statistically speaking, we now have a much greater chance that we will finally hit it. Rapanujo wrote, the gold also broke. Yes, Zloto, from what I heard, also has quite a good time. I also trade on Zloty, on Paxkia. This is tokenized gold. I don't know if I have a position there or not. If I show here that I am in a position at 638%, it means that I'm really in this position. But it's not a big position for me. It's a very small position. I mean very small, in terms of the whole. Let's say the capital I trade with, it is not, let's say, in any way different from the rest. Not everything, in fact. It is traded with exactly the same portions, so as you can see, there was an entry here, and from this moment, it is plus 6.38. 0.08% on plus, which of course is not impressive. But in the shot, let's say gold, it's a hold. Soto po prostu, nie ma aż takiej zmienności kursowej. Tu nie jest tylko waluta, tu jest rynek 10-krotnie większy od rynku Bitcoina. Więc naturalny kapitał. It has to be much more stable, and it has to have a lot less hesitation. But let's see how it looks here on the weekly candle. And very aggressive breaking out of a potential head and shoulders formation here. As you can see, this is the formation that I was talking about every time. When we were connecting to Zota's chart, and I also said that it doesn't seem to me that it would be like that. That rather, let's say, at other intervals. Zoto prezentuje się na tyle dobrze, że chyba raczej będziemy mieć kontynuację. Tu jest bardzo mylące, bo złoto, jak pamiętacie, zwłaszcza na pewno. Those of you who have been watching me for a few weeks or months, remember that gold is the best index of fear on the market. If gold grows, it means that theoretically this fear should be high, but because now the dollar is going up, the dollar is going up. Global economy is at a record high level. It's really all in the dollar frame. Experiences some appreciation, and that's why I think this time it's very misleading. Gold behavior will be very misleading. For all those who have just got used to treating gold as this indicator of fear and greed, and it seems to me that the fact that gold is pumping now doesn't mean that this fear is very, very high. I think it's just some element diversification, let's say global finance, and that's it, and that's it, and it doesn't mean that. For example, cryptocurrencies will have at this moment some kind of reverse correlation. It seems to me that Bitcoin, both Bitcoin and gold, I will have a very good time this year, and when Bitcoin will have a good time, the more likely it will be that also have a good time, but still considering, especially considering that we had a whole year to this day. I mean 3 quarters, yes, we will close in a moment, we will close the 3rd quarter in such a complete with no profit, when it comes to altcoins, where it was impossible to, not at all. I wanted to say not at all, but I was looking for this word, I couldn't find it in my head. We have 3 quarters of a complete infatuation on the altcoin market, and that means that the spring is very strongly stretched in the form of accumulation through the so-called strong hands. The more participants in this market have strong hands, the closer they are to big movements. On the sales side they are clean, and there is no way to stop the prices, and on the other hand, any. The pressure of the stock market causes big jumps up, and if market makers don't want to do something about it, then we have a very big problem. And market makers can also influence the market, but only if they also have quite a lot of these assets. So the fact that they will drag the altcoins with courses to infinity is certain that this will not happen. This is absolutely certain, because it weakens interest. And to be able to earn on this market, interest must be high. Even if we want to earn on the market of derivatives and liquidations, the interest must be high. Let's say the environment around this market must be such that you can earn a lot of money here in an easy way, otherwise you just won't attract this liquidity, and it won't be from where to suck the capital, so that's why it's all up to time. There is always such a moment when the cost of what is. And you have to start playing on a different note. We play on the same note for a very long time. The more we play the same note, the closer we are to changing the tone. Rapa Nui wrote. As for me, if the cycle is to be extended, it is waiting for a deeper correction. The correction will certainly be, I am high. I am convinced that it will come in November. In September it may happen a little smaller, but the actual one, I think it will happen in November. I am pointing out here the payment for big players, when there will be the most liquidity on the market. I'm sorry, liquidity is always the most in November. At the beginning of December, so it's like I'm focusing more on that time in September. There's not that much of this fluidity. I'm planning to make a description. It looks pretty good so far. It looks pretty good so far. Potentially the closest correction is probably Zoto, because you know, if we have such a rally as we have had so far, in fact, quite uninterrupted, you don't pay attention to this week which we have here, because this token is quite small. It was a liquid market, so if someone came here with a large offer and was not aware that it was not a real gold market, but it was tokenized gold, he made a so-called market buy, he just shot that price much higher than if he was able to on the traditional gold hand. So you can easily look at it and not look at it. However, even as if completely not forgetting about what happened here, this ride on Zoki is really very good, uninterrupted, with small swings to the bottom. It starts to have a more and more parabolic shape. Of course, this is due to the fact that, in a geometrical way, it is printed dollar in various forms. Yes, because it is printed in several forms. It is not so that these are only, let's say, paper dollars. What are RTT of a flow? There is even more of this in various other forms of obligations and such. And this is also included here, but the gold itself is not completely without guilt. The speculation is also not completely without guilt, which means that some correction will have to come, and the more parabolic this trend looks, the closer it is. There is a serious correction on zloty. Darek wrote to me. Hello Darek. Let's see if we have any comments on the English-speaking side. I see that so far not yet, but I see that there are 11 viewers. So it's nice for me to like and subscribe. Of course I encourage everyone to some small allocation of my meme coin called high tech. This is the one you see here on the chart. It's the only project that I promote on all my social media. And that's how it is. In fact, in this way, not directly. Form of investment in my social media, so this is a very innovative proposal from this side. No one approached Mimcoin. In this way, at least from what I know, I am probably the first person who does it in such a convention. So I encourage you to do it. Put something here, so to speak, but something unsatisfying. Something that will not cause you to wake up with sweat at night. Something that you can forget. A small amount that you can forget for a long time. And in such a relationship, let's say. I think there is a very high chance that in some time you will be satisfied, even with a small allocation here. I think this market is still amazing. There is a lot of room for feedback. This is just the beginning. We have only 61 hodlers, as you can see here, at the bottom of the screen. So that's it. In fact, any of these. The number of projects here in Belsa has more than 10,000 hodlers. So this meme coin out market is for good cause. It's just starting, yes, it's just starting, so you have a chance to be on this market. Let's see what else we have here. Let's see what they look like. Liquidation level today, Ethereum at almost $45 million mainly. The short positions are eliminated, i.e., the so-called shorts, in the ratio of 3.5 to 1. This is quite a fine. This means that the bulls are now in control. The bulls will be in control. On the other hand, on Bitcoin, if it is 6 to 1, then the bulls will definitely take control. But the rates on Bitcoin are very low, only less than $36 million. On Ethereum, I would say that yes, well, compared to what has been happening in the last few weeks, it's not much, but in general. Quite. But for Bitcoin, very low. Very, very low. So another proof that Wednesday is such a weekend in the middle of the week. In recent times, no one is doing anything on this market on Wednesdays. I don't know if people are doing something free, or the algorithms are turned off. I don't know, trading systems, this kind of things. There's something here, yes, because it is regular behavior in the market. Ostatnimi czasy. No dobrze, zobaczmy, komami naikshi ilona muska. Let's go back to the Bitcoin chart. It's only Wednesday, so we won't see anything like this on the weekly candle. On the daylight, as I noticed yesterday and the day before yesterday, we have a formation of a falling wedge. I can't draw it somehow. I have a little dirty surface, and that's why I have to clean it. And as you can see, so far, we are breaking out of this formation, the Bulls formation, because it is a Bulls formation. And so far, we are on the rise. Yes, it is already somewhere. Maybe the second or even the third day, when the formation is trying to achieve something. I think that we will soon have attempts to beat another all-time high on Bitcoin, of course, this all-time high currently prevailing. It was for $474 so far, really. But we don't have 11% here, so we wouldn't have seen anything before. The market of this type of movement is nothing special, so my opinion. As if we were in that area is not something, let's say, as they say, depressive. Yes, this is not an extreme. This is not something extreme. He wrote a little bit of going to the side, and then to the top. Of course, I changed a little bit what you wrote. I'm not sure how the translator would handle it, so I prefer to simplify it a bit. For now, we're going up. We're not even going sideways. We're just slowly climbing up and trying to. Let's see what we have on X, Elon Musk. I see that 8 people are watching the live stream. And well, maybe let me take a look and see how the live stream is in general, if it delivers as it should, if there are any complications here. I hope not for a moment, but no, I see that everything is fine. The sound is good, yes. Everything is good with the sound, so I'm sorry for such a short break, but it's always good to see if everything works for sure. Without complications, so I'm very happy about it. In the first days I had some complications, but I think I got rid of them, and my profile on X, as you can see, I have 510 followers, so I'm glad that I have followers. English-speaking part of the audience and watching this live stream and doesn't follow me, then let him do his duty. I stream live every day, so every day I post such materials as this one, and I invite you to participate as much as possible. In the live chat, I answer questions if there are any, so I encourage you. This is one of the big points of these live streams. So that the so-called feedback from the audience would be much easier in this way. Not only will I enjoy the content of this channel, but it is also much more pleasant. Derek M. wrote 170,000 on Bitcoin. As much as possible in December, January Bitcoin, so Bitcoin, right? Thursday, January, December. In January we can still be in the correction phase, I think. I expect a big correction in November. I don't know if by the end of January we will get rid of it. Maybe we will find the bottom and prepare for a bigger rally in May or June. That's how I would see it. But they can be wrong. Maybe this November correction will be very small. There will be, let's say, more fear than some. A real threat, and maybe in the next few months we will be watching some crazy increases. It wouldn't be a completely new thing. Let's say, the cryptocurrency market can be surprising. Every year he has quite a wide repertoire of surprises. So there is nothing to be stressed about. Absolutely nothing to be stressed about. But the decline of liquidity, i.e., what decides the profitability of large players, would rather indicate that this correction will take place in November. Tarek M. wrote, I put the section 169,000, 174,000. This is a very tight section. He didn't dare to guess where Bitcoin could potentially go when it comes to its valuation, because there are too many moving elements. Above all, the dollar itself is a very moving element, and its value in the current situation. So let's say such estimations are on hold. For a year or even for 3 months, they have very little chance of success, and they are a pure guess. You can't really know it for sure. You can just try to guess. For fun for sure, you can throw some number, but to put it seriously and, so to speak, to strategize, to do the whole strategy from this angle, to support your strategy at all. About such a prediction, then 99% of the time, something like that won't happen. And it's not a good practice when it comes to going to the market. Okay, let's go to my timeline. Let's see what we have here. Are there any stories worth of interest? Memes and some cliché of obvious truths. Aha, so it looks like it is available for rent in WLFI and Jupiter. CoinMarketCap recommends Alpenglow. I don't know what it is at all. I'll be honest with you.